In this section, we're going to be starting the conversations upon credit management. And when you see credit management is going to be a requirement since you're going to be making sales to customers. And if you have not associated a specific credit management aspect to your customer, the customer can buy as many goods as he or she wants. And if you're going to be limiting the customer based on, say, whether or not they can pay up after they've bought, in that case, you require some sort of credit limits and some sort of risks that you can associate with that customer's buying habits. So, if you think back to, say, when you use credit cards, and when you use the credit cards, you're going to be having a limit. Say, $15,000 is the limit that you establish on top of your credit card. And when you use that credit card, you can use all the way up till 15,000. But the moment you step over 15,000, your card is blocked, meaning that you can't do anything above 15,000. And when you try to buy anything that crosses over that, you're going to be blocked and your transaction is blocked. And what happens is you still have the remaining aspect of whatever 15,000 you can use, but the overage you cannot use. So say you have 14,700 and you try to buy something for 500, you can't do that. But if you buy something for 200, 300, all the way up till the limit, you're okay. But the moment you cross it, it's not going to be working for you anymore. And this is for the protection of the company, because when you allow your customers to buy on credit, there's always the risk of the fact that this customer might not pay back. And this is actually a real risk since the rate of customers not paying back often ranges from about 3 to 4% in a business. And 3 to 4% for a business is a huge rate. And when it comes down to profit margins, this can very much affect your profit margins. And you don't want to be having too loose of a control on credit management. And 3 to 4% is actually the rate after you look at credit management. So if you don't do credit management, nobody's going to be able to pay up and there's going to be problems. You have to manage the credit aspect yourself. You can't leave it on the customers to do that for you. So let's head on to the enterprise structure. Inside enterprise structure will come down to the definition, and inside financial accounting, we'll look at how we can work with the definition of a credit control area. The credit control area is going to be an area that we're going to be assigning, and this area is going to be controlling dependent on the categories, limits, and all of these other aspects that we can assign to it. So if you look at the credit control area, here we'll just define a sample one, put something like 1002, and the currency that we're going to be using is going to be the US dollar. So let's put US and D. So let's move on to the update. Here you can select data for updating sales and distribution. So whenever our sales comes in, we want to be able to update this credit, because see, when a person is going to try to open up a certain bill or try to order from us, that sales order, we have to be able to block that sales order, or else inside the system, our inventory is going to be updated such that our customer has ordered for something and we won't be able to supply anybody else that specific amount of goods since somebody else has already ordered it. However, if that customer is over the billing line or over the credit line, then all those goods are going to be wasted because we can't deliver anyways. And we need to be able to capture the fact that the change is occurring inside the limit at the moment of the order itself. And we're going to be accessing this on the time axis. So we're going to be choosing this guy right here, which is going to be updating our limit the moment our order steps over, and will be capturing it the moment we send the order in. And that's exactly what we want. We want to be catching the person from stepping over the limit the moment the order comes in, so that we don't have to waste our resources and keep them aside and stop somebody else from buying them. Here we can assign a fiscal year variant, and the fiscal year variant is quite simple. If you don't remember, this was a while back, and the fiscal year variant is going to be the way that the corporation calculates its money. So what we can do is, say we have a corporation that starts in June instead of starting in January, and the corporation can start its fiscal year in June, and ended a month before in May, and it's going to repeat that cycle over and over again, and it's going to be allowing us to generate our income within those months and calculate that as 1 year. So instead of going from January to December, you can choose to go from June to May. And the reason here oftentimes is because you want to, say, capture all your benefits for the cyclical business that you have inside one aspect. And once you get into a loss or something like that, you can easily write off that into a next year. And if you have that kind of a seasonal business, it's oftentimes useful. And usually, a lot of these seasonal businesses use that. And if you can show a better showing for your investors, you're just going to be using a different fiscal year than the calendar year. So here we have our fiscal year variant we can select. Let's head on here and we'll just select one of these basic ones. So we'll go with calendar year, and for special periods, we'll just be doing some special accounting at the end of the quarters or at the end of the year itself, so that we can just make sure we're making all the correct adjustments and everything else is perfectly configured. And if that is not the case, then we can get into problems. So let's activate this. And here we'll select the risk category. The risk category, we're going to be going with how we can specify information. So we'll be looking into this. And let's change this something else. Change this to the control area here for Europe. And they would probably have some risk categories already created. You can define your risk category here. So 01, 02, high risk, new customer. So you can go with a low risk, high risk, new customer, those sorts of risk categories. And here we're going to select something like low risk. And here you can assign a credit limit. So for the low risk customer, we'll assign something like $100,000. So let's put one more here. And this is going to be a $100,000 credit limit, meaning our business can buy all the way up to $100,000. And anything above that, we're not going to be allowing our businesses to buy from that. So if they do buy anything above that, we're going to be blocking it. And here, do we want this to be available for all company codes? Yes. And that is all basically we have to do here. And we're going to be pressing enter. So let's make sure this is special key. This is different from the others. Let's enter and let's hit save. Let's remove this and then we can add this in later as well. Let's activate our request. And our credit control area has been created. So we created a new credit control area with the following code 1002, with the following currency US dollar, with the following updating status. And this is going to be how our sales documents update this credit control area. And the status is going to be the moment the order comes in, with the following fiscal year variant, which is going to be the way our company calculates cash. And this is important obviously because we need to be able to understand how the company is functioning month by month so that we can establish this credit control area dependent on that. So if we want to change, say, our credit control area in terms of the posting periods, so for the first 3 posting periods we want this credit control, for next one we want this credit control, we can easily assign that. But in order to do that, we need to make sure we're on the same page with how the company is functioning. So if the company is using, say, a calendar year and you're going from June to July or June to May, and in that case you're going to be off by about 4 or 5 months on each of your calculations, which obviously you don't want to be off. So here you can assign your credit limit, and the risk category is something you can create externally and you won't be able to use a previously defined one. And that's basically all we need to cover here. We can end this lecture here and let's move on to the next one.